Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. This is the match reaction show / new signing show. 2 shows in one today. Man United lost yesterday. Undefeated streak after 14 games is over. How are we all feeling, guys? Nat, Matt, Ben, hope you're all well. Go on, Nat. How are you feeling after that game?
How can you say, man? It's Chelsea, isn't it? It's always going to be a big game. I think we've done well to get this far. I think when LJ scored, I thought it was on. Casey's even sort of made reference, and we'll go on to it. You know, we looked like the better side. The whole of that second half, to be honest, in my opinion. It's just is what it is, you know. Talk about it a lot last season, those fine margins, you know, the way it should be, the way it should go. To be honest, we'll talk about the ref as well. Hampson scored a goal. These things, you know. But you know what? I didn't expect to go out there and win. But a point would have been nice. But it is what it is. We keep moving. It's not, you know, the league's not over now. We're not like 10 points behind them. We're level on points. Yeah, they've got a game in hand, but it's the points on the board, and we just need to now think about building up our goal difference. You know, we've got a game on Sunday. You know, for me, you need to go out there and score a load of goals and make it right.
Yeah. I feel the same. I mean, Matt, was you a bit like me? I mean, did you wake up thinking like disappointment, or did you wake up thinking, okay, we lost, not the end of the world, we'll come back again? As Nat said, we level on points. Or was you like the opposite way, thinking, oh, we've missed an opportunity, Chelsea's got to go on from here, we're going to go backwards? How did you feel, Matt?
I think a bit of both. For the first two you mentioned, you know, a bit gutted, obviously, because for me, it was, you know, it was kind of points lost, really. You know, it's kind of deja vu. Last year was a 1-goal margin. This year is a 1-goal margin. It was just, I don't know, gutting, but at the same time, you know, like you kind of mentioned, it's not the end of the season. It's not the end of the world. And the amount of meltdowns I've seen yesterday on Twitter, I could not believe it. I mean, you know, we'll get onto that later, but I just think, like Nat said, you know, now we've got to just learn from this, go again, get in, have a good week of training, and then go and smash Birmingham on Sunday.
Ben, I know you're active on social media. I mean, did you agree with a lot of the comments, or was you like a bit more level-headed? Because, as Matt says, there were quite a few meltdowns, which we'll talk about shortly. Or did you just look at it as thinking, okay, so we lost to the champions. It was our first game that we lost in about 15. Was you a little bit more like reserved about it? Obviously, you was disappointed, but was you kind of level-headed about it?
Yeah, I was, mate. I don't think we played all that badly, to be honest with you. They didn't dominate us. Yeah, might have had the better of the first half, or with the exception of the last 10 minutes where I think we started to grow into the game. But it's just typical social media, innit? Overreacting and everything. They didn't dominate us. They didn't, you know, they didn't smash us like they've been smashing other teams. You know, every time we lost to them, it's always been by a single goal. Fine margins, as Nat said, fine margins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. John, I mean, John's quite bold in saying what he's saying, and we'll talk about this throughout the show and throughout the following week really, when it comes to players in and players out. Look, we're going to be talking about Tobin Heath. We're going to be talking about Christian Fess and LJ hot on the heels, in my opinion. We're going to be talking about a new signing halfway through the show. We're going to bring in Christian. Christian's from Norway, so he knows the player very well. So halfway through the show, we're going to bring him on and hear what he has to say. But yeah, let's start off. Let's start off with Tobin Heath then. Ben, start us off. I mean, I know you're a massive Galton fan, and I think Galton played really well yesterday. I know you're a massive Hansen fan. But what were your thoughts regarding not playing Heath?
If she's got an injury, no matter what it is, Casey's made the right decision. Take her out. Take her out and rest her. I'd rather she be taken out of this game than resting this game she picks up, or she makes her injury worse and she'd be out for longer. I think with enough quality, I think, on that football pitch to and it proved it at times. I think we had enough quality on that football pitch to give Chelsea a good game of football, and we did, to be fair, man. We were, as I said before, we weren't overrun. We weren't over. Probably you could argue in the first half we were, but I'd rather we take a player, especially someone as important as Tobin Heath. I'd rather take her out for the one game, rest her, make sure that injury is as healed as it can be, and hopefully she can go again for Birmingham. But I'd rather lose her for one game than lose her for 3-4 games on the bounce, if you know what I mean, if she makes the injury worse. So I think that's Casey Stoney's made the correct decision for me there. Yeah,
and it's not like she brought on 2 players who can't contribute in that position. I mean, Hansen started off the season really, really well. She only got took out of the squad because Heath was obviously fully fit. We all been raving about Galton, and I think she had a great game as well. It's awkward when you play in that position because it's the same as the men's team as well, playing in a similar formation. Sometimes you can think to yourself, well, the strikers haven't done enough because they haven't created or scored. But then you've also got to think to yourself, the midfielders have got to give them balls as well. I mean, Matt, we talk a little bit about tactics. Where do you think it kind of went wrong regarding the clinicalness up front? Because obviously we had the ball in the final third a fair bit, which I actually felt like we was going to score more than we did, because we did have that ball up in that penalty box quite a bit. But that final ball to one of the strikers just didn't really seem to be there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to refer to the video Amber actually put out before, because she did make some very, very good points and some very valid points to me. I think the kind of midfield forward link, shall we call it, at times isn't there or isn't as good as it can be. And I don't know if that comes to kind of the way we play or the way that Casey sets them out. But I think for me that there is something at times, and it's not every game, just missing. And we've talked about before, haven't we, for the past couple of seasons about, how clinical we are. But I think it's like Amber said, we had Kristen Press, and there was times when we should have been playing her in, or we could have, looked to work a better opening rather than just shoot from wherever we were on the pitch. And I think for me, it's about, if she's up front and she's kind of the focal point of our attack and she's central, that's not a problem, that's fine. But at times, what you don't want is your forward having to come back into the midfield to get the ball or to look for it. And I think, again, there was some harsh criticism against Press. And, I said this weeks ago and last week's show as well that, she's been seriously ill. She's not yet fully fit. She will come good. She's probably not in the most useful position. I think she'd be effective elsewhere. But I think, people just need to give her a chance first and foremost. But, we saw it sort of last year. There were times when Jane Ross had to come into the midfield and, get the ball and then do something with it. And I think, we may have not corrected that, I feel. This season, we saw Russo, the Brighton goal, how deep she comes to get that ball to then take it herself. And I think it's small things like that. Listen, it's not the end of the world because we're 2.5 years old, we're transitioning. And we're talking about, a 9-year-old team we came up against that's got some of the best players, in the league. But I think, it's definitely for me something that maybe could be better or needs to be worked on in terms of your link with your midfield to your attack, whether that's somebody in midfield, sort of behind the forwards driving with the ball, whether that's your wingers supplying the crosses or patterns of play. I think, listen, like I said, it will come and it's going to be obviously worked on now. I think that'll give Casey food for thought in terms of our sort of final third. But for me, I just don't see why people are panicking over Press. I really don't. I think it's a bit harsh. Like I say, first game back, she's up there on her own with not a lot to work with for me.
Well, we'll come on to Press shortly. I just want to hear Natalie's thoughts on Tobin Heath. I mean, do you think it would have been a massive difference if Tobin had played? I was
devastated when Tobin was out, and I understand what Ben's saying. You don't want to risk her, but I was just devastated because she's chosen to stay in Manchester for the games that we had. I mean, we talked about why we didn't play Everton game. That's a disgrace, and I hope that can be rectified and we get it on the 31st when there's not a game. But this is the game that she stayed for, really and truly. Let's think about it. Birmingham, we could, it doesn't matter to me in a horrible way not in a horrible way to Birmingham, but this was the game she would have wanted. This is what the season was all about. And yeah, it's not the end of the world that we lost it, but she said to her USA team, they're playing tonight. I'm not playing because I need to play. And it would have been that game that she was thinking, Chelsea. And, I'm just devastated for her, just looking at her on the touchline where she was standing up and shouting. Everyone else is sitting down. She's standing up and shouting, do this, do that. And, Hayley Ladd said she gave a team talk at halftime. And, just her being there, it's probably like having us there, And it's just, that's what I'm gutted about. I mean, I know we're going to go on to things and we'll go on to press and stuff, but for me, there was moments where we had the link up, and I think that link up, if anything, and came when, and people saying offside, okay, maybe it was, but that was a beautiful link up play. That was when the midfield and the thing and it all connected, and Press passed it off, and Hansen was in. And there was a moment where Hansen was in. I don't know why, but she passed it off to Press, and it wasn't. I don't know, and maybe it's that connection between everyone, because I think we had it, and this is what people. I'm not saying that Press, and I'm sure she'll even say, and I know we're going on to it, but I'm probably going on to it now. I'm sure she'll probably say she's not had her best start. She's even said it herself, and I think that's the difference. There are some people that are crazy, like slagging her off and saying leave and all this. There's people saying, listen, look at what Tobin's doing, look at what she's doing. I know there's a big difference, but because Tobin's just been able to play. She's not had no injury, she's not had no nothing, and she's probably was fully recovered. But for me, it's look at the way Jackie, when she first came in last year, people were asking for a bit more from her. And I think that's all it is. It's just people asking for a bit more from Press. And it's not slagging her off. It's not doing that. It's just saying, can we get a bit more? Can we get a bit more? Can we do a bit more? And I think, people that I've spoken to said, look at LJ. She came on, she did that. But LJ is that kind of player that'll do that, though. I think we need someone and LJ. But then I suppose this is me going into tactics. You can't play LJ as a 10, in my opinion. She's just not going to do as much work as Tooney. And it's trying to get the best out of everyone. It's going to be tough, but like I said, it's not over.
Well, you mentioned LJ, so before we go on about Press, I mean, LJ scored a fantastic goal, and I saw people on Twitter saying that it was the wrong decision to take Press off, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, LJ scores. I don't particularly think Press could have potentially scored if she stayed on the pitch. I'm not disputing that, but I think anyone who loves Press, you have to also bear in mind we've also got some other quality players who can come on if Press isn't in form or if Press can't do something in that particular game. And what we saw off LJ was something that we haven't really seen much of this season. But if anyone who hasn't seen LJ who's new to the club, that is exactly what she's been providing for us for the last 2.5 seasons. Stick with yourself, Nat, because I know that you love LJ. Just talk us through that goal.
Oh, that's. I've never even really seen her score a goal like that. This time last year when we went to Chelsea, she was doing bits, and I think it was more on her. But that link up it was 1-2 with Tooney, just the 1-2. She picked it up from the wing. She passed it off to Tooney, who was in the middle, and Tooney passed it back to her, and then it was just bang, the LJ show. But where she passed it back to her was where you want LJ all the time, just outside the box like that, just patrolling that box, and they just stood off her. And the thing is, though, what makes me laugh about it all is everyone's like, these rival fans, oh, you crap, you this. Okay, look at this. Look how she just tore you apart in one move. And for me, people writing us off, saying we're finished and stuff. And I think it makes me laugh, mate, because how can we be finished when we just started? This girl.
Yeah.
I said it. As soon as she scored it, I said world class. Some other people have tweeted out world class, and that's the difference, man. That is, I'm surprised. For me, what I would have probably done is started LJ and brought Press on.
I think that's
what people would be like this and that. But for me, maybe Press would have done more coming on with tired defensive. I mean, we all know what LJ can do, and it probably wouldn't have worked out best. It would have been more fresher, but LJ scares people, man. When she runs at people, when she's facing them up, they don't know where to send her, left or right. Bang, it's going in the bottom corner no matter what. So, she's just different class, and she's back in now. And like you're saying, we've got Press, we've got LJ, Russo. Casey's saying might be coming back quicker. You know, so for me, it's all good. All good. Press, Russo, LJ. This is what it's about. You know, we're not about just one person playing and that's it. It's about right, who wants it the most? Who's going to fight? You know, you need to work harder. And just because your name's this and your name's that don't mean nothing. Go out, do it. And for me, LJ, she'll be saying, I want to start now, Gaffer, you know?
Well, that's what I was going to ask Ben. I mean, we saw how LJ managed to do something that Press couldn't in that particular game, and that was, you know, create a clear-cut chance and score off it. Ben, do you think it's time now that LJ is fully fit, that she gets her run of games? Because Russo's had her run of games. Press has had a few chances. I wouldn't say she's had a clear run of games, like back to back to back. But is it now maybe LJ's turn to get a chance?
Well, if you remember, I said in the preview show, I wouldn't be surprised if LJ just started up front with this game. I think so, though, but I don't say it lightly when I say she's the best young talent I've seen in a long, long time in football. That's across men and women's game. You just have to watch her, and you're like, how the hell did she do that? You like, sometimes I sit there in amazement and go, wow. That the goal she scored against Chelsea was one of those moments where I sat back and went, what a effing goal. And wow. That was absolutely unreal. She tore them to shreds. She's tearing arguably the best team in the league to shreds. She tore them to shreds in that move. I think she has made an absolutely strong case to Casey now to say, listen, maybe give me a chance. You know, I've proven to you against some of the best defenders and best players in the world what I can do. Are you brave enough now to put me in? You know, I think obviously Press has got an argument to whether to start the next game. You know, to get some more match time and match rhythm under a belt, and then you've also got Jess Sigsworth as well. We can't forget about Jess. She's also banging on the door, going, Gaffer, start me as well. Look, I've scored you important goals as well over the last 2.5 seasons. But LJ is something else, though, mate. I tell you, man, just unreal. And like I said, I think I said it in the preview show, you just cannot get the ball off her. You know, players just bounce off her. She reminds me, you know what? She reminds me so much, a little bit. And I don't like comparing male footballers, but of Gaza. Gaza had exactly the same thing. You just couldn't get the ball off him. Close control, the movement, the way they run past people. Very reminiscent of a young Wayne Rooney as well. You know, people used to bounce off him, and you couldn't get the ball off him. You know, she's just absolutely unbelievable. I run out of superlatives to describe her because I think I've used them all. Because she's just absolutely unreal, and I reckon Birmingham could be in for a bit of a, so we say, rough time of it.
Thanking.
I think so.
At the risk of losing some of our American fans here, then Matt, how do you think we need to get the best out of Kristen Press then? Because we talked about different formations, like playing like a 4-4-2, but I think that might be a little bit far fetched because Casey has never really played like a 4-4-2 before. You know, people say play out wide. I've heard one say play with a number 10 so she can get into the game a bit more. There are options there, or is it just the case of our opponents kind of marking out the game or being too physical for her? Or every game's different, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, you know, I'm going to touch on something Nat mentioned before about kind of these link-ups on the pitch, you know, and she's spot on. You know, it's massively important. I think sometimes people may not realise that through training and through lots of match practice, you get these little relationships on the pitch. And you've seen, obviously, Tooney and LJ have played together since 2018, so they'll know each other's kind of, you know, strengths, weaknesses, where to give them the ball. I mean, you know, we've not seen much of Press, so for me, you know, it's difficult. When I see people complaining and moaning, I'm thinking, you know, just cut her a bit of slack. I think in terms of formation, you know me, I've said it many times. I'm never a fan of one up top on their own. I mean, you know, you did mention 4-4-2, but I think that's quite predictable. And like you say, you know, Casey's kind of always shied away from that. I think for me, you know, it's difficult because people say, oh, well, it's Chelsea, you know, we need to play two holding. But I think for me, I just find it a little bit like too defensive for me. I think personally, the amount of attacking talent we've got now, we should be looking to just keep one holding Haley. You know, I think so for me, it'd be like a 4-1-3-2. Now, obviously, you know, people said wide for press. I'm a big fan of sort of, you know, I can see in the comments in behind and sort of threading it through and creating and sort of, you know, having a goal from the edge of the area. And I think I'd agree with that. And I'd go with kind of those lines. I know it's difficult because obviously, you know, we've just touched on how good LJ is and obviously she plays there. But for me, we could potentially swap. We could have LJ as like the focal point of the attack. You know, you've seen how many players she draws into her. You know, she's always got 2 as a minimum, trying to get the ball off her. And I think, you know, it's great because if you can kind of pull players, defenders out of position and they're more focused on her and you've got sort of Kristen in behind and then Tobin's wide and Leah and kind of play it like that. I think for me, that would be quite successful, you know, get them involved and just, let's be honest, you know, they're very clever, aren't they? Very, very clever players. And I think it'd be good for LJ because she can learn, you know, a lot from sort of the mentality side of the game and kind of the footballing brain, so to speak. And I think, you know, if we do see, you know, Kristen further back, slightly behind, put LJ up top, you know, let her be a battering ram. She's so unpredictable. She can use both feet pretty much. You know, have her just being an absolute menace. And then let's use the creative side that Kristen has. And we can, you know, look to utilise her talents. And I think, again, just give her time, you know. She's got to get these little relationships and this know-how with her fellow teammates. And it just comes through a run of games. You know, like I say, training a run of games. Let's be honest, not everybody. I mean, if we're looking at that front four, they've not all been in training together or they won't have been for long because LJ's been out for a while. Then she was back. Then she was off again. You know, people have carried knocks and things. So I think, again, it's just consistency. Obviously, we've got, you know, Alessia to come back as well. But for now, I think for me, I'd try Kristen just behind. You know, get rid of the 2 defensive holding players. You know, you've got Jackie who can track back if need be. Tooney's pretty much box to box, so that solves that. And then just go from there and rotate, really.
Matt, do you think, you talk about relationships there, do you think if Tobin had played today, obviously they've known each other for a lot longer, do you reckon that would have been slightly different? Could you imagine those pair like working together? Would it have been a different story for Press if Tobin had played?
I'd say so, yeah. Again, linking back to Amber's video, you know, she talked very well on how kind of, you know, they played together, they got the know-how on the national team. And I think, you know, we talked about obviously that link midfield to attack, and we do see Tobin all the time. She does try and pick out Kristen, you know, wherever she is on the pitch. You know, listen, they know those 2 players. They know each other's game, you know, what each other brings. And I think sometimes it's about, like I say, you know, transitioning what they know and what they can do into the rest of the team. And I think, you know, Tobin's obviously had a longer run of games and she's been in the side and she's kind of picked it up. And I think, like I say, it will come from Kristen. It's just a case of, can people kind of get on the same wavelength for me? I think, you know, there's no reason to panic yet. You know, I'm not panicked, but listen, it's early days now. Obviously, she's had that game. She's got a bit of fitness. She's had a bit of a run out. I think Birmingham now, we should start to see, obviously, you know, a bit more from her. And as the weeks go by now, then, yeah, it should be good going forward.
I agree with Marie's point on screen. I think I've said it a couple of times. We haven't seen a settled front 3 yet, have we? Obviously, at the start, Press and Heath didn't start until like the 2nd, 3rd or 4th game. Russo was on form, but then out injured. LJ back and forwards, Jess back and forwards, Press back and forwards. It's like we haven't really seen a settled 3 yet, so I can't wait. It doesn't matter who it is for me because they're all good quality, but I'd like to see that settled 3. A couple of other comments. This one I put up on the screen earlier. So I think that right-footed save in that first half, I just thought was fantastic. Kept us in it there. And Marie just talking about Amber's video. That's on our Twitter page, All for United WFC, Marie. So Amber put up a video regarding Christian Press, and it was really good, definitely. Just before we bring Christian in, I just want to hear a little bit about where do we go from here then. So, Nat, start off with yourself.
Yeah, for me, I think, you know, Mary is one that's been talked about, been a bit of criticism. Not criticism like, oh, we hate her, this and that, just constructive. And that's what I think it is for everyone. You know, if we done this, then this. If we do this, if Tobin was on, what we did then. And that's what I think we need to look at. And I think I saw one tweet that sort of said, oh, we're out of it now, we're finished, you know, we bottled it. And I'm thinking to myself, give over, calm down. Yeah, it's disappointing that it's a loss. But where do we go from here now? For me, I think, yeah, we should have got a point from that. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but we need to, for me, I think we're going to go into City now and then Arsenal. And for me, it's 6 points there. And I know that sounds a bit cocky, arrogant, but for me, I can't see how we've already played them at home and we beat Arsenal, we drew against City, but there's talk that like MUWFC and that might still be out for City. For me, Chelsea are a different animal to those two teams, and you know, I think when we play those two teams, we need to know now that we can win. We can win against anyone. We're going to beat everyone, and we can win against everyone. And I think even Casey sort of said it now. We need to believe that we can win these games, and I think potentially there was nervousness about this Chelsea game, and obviously, you know, it's big games. Everyone's going to be nervous, but I think it was nervous, worried. Whereas I want nervous excitement, and you know, Chelsea have a lot of games quick, fast. You know, they just drop at 1 point, bang, right back on top, and that's what it's about. And you know, like we've been saying, Birmingham, let's go out there and smash them. Let's go out there, and I think for me now, it's about let's go out there in these games and build on them goal difference. We did it against Bristol. Birmingham are a bit better than Bristol, but I'm not saying that they're in the top echelons, you know. They're doing very, very well, but for me, it's about let's get 6 goals again, you know, build that goal difference up. So that if it does come down to that, well, we've got something in the tank. But, you know, before we even had Russo press, I was saying, let's just get the top 3. Let's just get the top 3. Let's push it. Let's get it by 1 point. Now I'm thinking, bang, second is confirmed, mate. Let Chelsea and Arsenal fight for third. For me, I think let's look at that top spot. Let's look when Chelsea slip up. But if we're second, we're second. You know, it's life. It's moving up 2 spaces. It's progress. Is what we've always wanted. So for me, I think second, boxed. Let's go and get 6 points against the other 2. Cement it.
It's massive progress. I mean, the start of the season when a lot of us were saying we'll probably still finish 4th, but we'll close the points gap. I was thinking, yeah, we can still get 3rd. And I'm sure, Ben, Matt, you probably had your thoughts around 3rd or 4th. I don't think many of us would have thought would have been in the title race. But that's exactly what we are. We are still in that title race. Whether or not we're favourites is a different subject, but we're still in that race. Ben, are you like thinking to yourself, well, so long as we make the top 3, that's the main thing, or are you still really pushing for that top spot, or you know, where do you see the season ending at the moment?
The great strength of character is how you bounce back from a defeat, and Casey will have them all fired up for Birmingham. Absolutely no doubt about that. For me, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't even built in a week. Rome wasn't built in a month. Rome wasn't even built in a year. These things take time. So long as we progress and we build block by block, step by step, I'm happy with any improvement that's shown. But you're asking me if top spot still there? Of course it is. We're not out of it. We're not mathematically out of it. We're not all of a sudden lost to Chelsea. We're bottom of the league. We're in there. We're in amongst it. You know, it just takes one little slip up from Chelsea and then we're back on top of the pile again.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand why people overreact on defeats. It seems to be manifesting its way down from the men's game into this game now. Oh, it's over. It's, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, life's not worth living again. Mate, this team's 2.5 years old. Look at the massive progression. Look at it. Look where we are now. You'd have said to me at the start of the season, you'll be pushing Chelsea. You know, you'd have been leading the league at the midway point, pushing Chelsea. You know, I'd have snapped your hand off straight away at the start of the season because I thought, man, if we get into top 3, get into Europe, it's looking good, But we've had that little taste now. We've bit the apple, we've had a little taste of that top spot.
Yeah.
It's now on us now to go back to prove to ourselves, to prove to everyone else and all the other doubters and all that lot that taste of that top spot. We love that taste. We're gonna do our damn best to try and get it back. But no matter where we finish this season, know one thing: I'm as proud as punch of them all. All the season, the way we've acquitted ourselves in the 2.5 years, I'm a proud Red. The way Casey Stoney has built this team up, you give me. I don't think even Emma Hayes could build a team like that in 2.5 years to be challenging. Especially all the world-class players that Emma Hayes is at her disposal, and that can only beat us by a single goal. A single goal. And by the way, you could argue both their goals were our mistakes. Defensively, our mistakes. They didn't beat us by worldly strikes. Didn't go down doing LJ to us. The first goal was scrappy. The second goal, our 2 most solid players just had lapses of concentration. These things happen in football. I just do not get the absolute meltdowns. But just know that I'm proud of that, every single one of them.
That's fantastic, Ben, because I agree with everything you said there. Then, Matt, just final thoughts for yourself on that game.
Yeah, I mean, you've all pretty much spoke very well on it, and I agree. I think, like Ben said, to push a team, and I said it before, they've been sort of 9.5 years they've been, building, and Emma Hayes come out after the game and said, it's the best team they've come up against, and that's a credit to the players, and that's a credit to Casey after 2.5 years. And, let's not forget, like Ben said before, it's not the end of the world. It's 1 defeat in 12 months in the league. They've got to go to Arsenal, or they're at home to Arsenal. They've got to play Arsenal round about when we play Man City. We beat City, they drop points, could happen. And then their sort of last 3 games, I think they've got something like City away. And then they've got to play Reading, and Reading, what Reading are like, they could throw up anything. So I think, there's a little bit of overreaction for me. We all said at the start of the season we'd be happy with top 3. We ended top. We've stayed there for, half the season. Brilliant. And yeah, just like Ben said, a couple of mistakes that are our own doing. If we've been carved open by this outstanding football, you can't argue with it. But the fact that, like you said, bit of pinball in the box and we didn't clear our lines very well. And the second one, kind of bit of a defensive lapse, whether, you shouldn't let the ball bounce and the second defender should be there to clean up. But listen, again, not the end of the world. We've got Birmingham next. We can go and beat them. And again, we've talked about it. Progress for me, again, like Nat said, 4th last year. If we come second, which more than capable, then brilliant. I think let's finish the season well now. We're out the Conti Cup. Chelsea have got a big run of games coming up to fit in. So, yeah, let's go. Let's just enjoy it now and let's not have any more meltdowns.
Isn't it a sign of how far we've come and how quickly we've come?
Absolutely.
We're equal on points, top of the league after 10 or 11 games, and we've got people questioning, is it good enough? That's absolutely fantastic. Right,
Can I say one little thing, John?
Yeah,
and I know
on.
you 3 boys were there. I know you weren't there, John, but I remember the championship. We got beat by Durham. We were standing in mud. I remember, and it's over. Man United, I'm going to get promoted. All that kind of stuff. But it wasn't it wasn't the vibe like it was on Twitter then, like it is now. And I think it just shows the progress of how many people now are invested in this team so much. And it's, in a way, even though it's shit news and shit feelings and that are coming out, it's good to see so many more. And that was a bloody rubbish game that we played. That Durham one, that was rubbish.
It was cold.
Yeah, no one have probably seen that. Yeah, it's probably just a couple of us. A few hundred people have probably seen that game. Because there was no FA player. So it was a couple of hundred that were there at that time, saw that game. Yeah.
-6 as well, and we all stood there and went, I'm absolutely devastated from an early start as well.
Yeah.
The ref had an absolute mare that game.
Oh, he did. Some of us more early than others.
How the lino?
Man, there must be millions out there who watch that Chelsea game. Millions. Yeah, and
especially being on BT
on
Sport, big platforms, man.
Yeah, watching it on the repeats and all that kind of thing that you can get it on now. YouTube channels and all that, you know. So, you know, that's the thing. And now they're all coming out of the cave, these Chelsea fans.
Well, one person who was watching the match, not in England, but in Norway, is Christian. So I'm going to bring Christian in now. He's going to be talking about a player of Chelsea's, probably not for much longer. So let's bring Christian in.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Christian. Mate, I just want to hear your thoughts on the Chelsea game first before we start talking about our new defender.
Pretty disappointed with how we lost. Not necessarily that we lost. I think that was a real possibility going into the game. So I said before that a win would be amazing, a draw would be okay, and a loss wouldn't be the end of the world. We lost. Pretty disappointed that we didn't manage to be switched on after we scored and conceded straight after. I thought the first half was pretty poor from us. Chelsea really managed to create a lot of chances and we didn't get our play going. I think the key word was lack of composure, which we didn't have on the ball at all. I think most of the first half we just kind of punted it forward and hoped it would hit someone. So there was no rhythm and no composure on the ball. And when we did manage to get into good positions, we just didn't have the final ball, and the decisions, the decision making wasn't good enough. Pretty well illustrated by when Kirsty Hansen picked up a poor goal kick from Berger and tried to play in press, but the pass was off. But obviously we improved in the second half. I thought we got more control of it, and we obviously got the equalizer. And then I felt we really had the momentum in the game, but obviously when you concede a goal like we did 4 minutes after, we kind of lost the momentum and didn't really manage to get back into it again.
That goal reminded me a lot of when we lost to Bristol last season, last January time, wasn't it? Where Ebony Salmon got onto it. And it's happened before. It's just a lack of decisiveness, I guess, between the centre backs, or you know, it's just I need to watch it back because I haven't watched any highlights just yet because I've been at work all day. But I do need to watch that game back because I do think there was a lot of positives in that game. But as Christian rightly said, I just think we switched off. We lacked a bit of composure when we got that equaliser, and we did have the momentum. I actually thought that we could have got on to win that game when we got to 1-1, and if we had stayed at 1-1 for maybe another 5 or 10 minutes longer, we could have potentially got something out of that. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But Christian, thanks for messaging us and wanted to be on the show. Before I come to yourself, Christian, Natalie, tell us where we are regarding Maria. So you mentioned it first a few days ago. You didn't mention any names, but we knew it was coming. Where do you think we are?
Listen, I've said it on last Thursday's show with Brad. Well, Brad had to step out, but I said I've heard a name and I've heard it's done. And it was WSL experience, international experience. And it was Maria. I can't say her surname, Terry-Stockers. I'm sure I'll get told her surname, but yeah, Maria Terry-Stockers or whatever. Yeah. But I said I don't want to say it because I'm waiting for someone else. I knew that it was so close. It's WSL, so I knew everyone knew about it. And I said someone's going to break it. And long and behold, hopefully we'll get her on the show, friend of the show. That's what I'll say. Molly Hudson broke it because I heard that day that Emma Hayes had come out and said we're not buying anyone, but we're selling one. And I think from that, Molly's then tweeted out a tweet that actually went pretty much viral, 100,000 impressions on Twitter, you know, from that tweet in less than 24 hours. You know, that's the Man United effect. You know, you look at other teams have made centre-backs and it's not as prominent as that. So, you know, people went well for it, and that's why I got Christian on to talk about her, because for me, it's done deal that I've heard. You know, it must be done deal. Molly Hudson from the Times has tweeted about it, name and everything, you know. So for me, it's just a case of waiting for Man United to announce it, like we were with Preston Eve. How long is that? How long's a piece of string? For me, I don't think we need, Birmingham should be able to beat it without it. You know what I mean? Even if we play Everton in the last game of the on the 31st, say, I think we should still be able to beat them without her. So whenever she comes in, for me, it's cool. I'll be happy. I just looking forward to listening to what Christian thinks about her, and he's a Norway fan, watches Norway's women's team. She plays in that, so just his opinions on where she can fit in and things like that.
Go on, Christian.
First of all, I have to say that it was a pretty sensible signing. We need more depth at the centre back department, and she isn't playing much for Chelsea, so she obviously wanted to leave for game time, I assume. So pretty sensible all around. Definitely as a good centre back, I think. Can fill in at right back if needed, but I prefer as a centre back. So it's whatever you want to know. I have a pretty good idea of what she can bring and what she's like as a player due to watching her for the national team quite a lot. So, do you want me to just go ahead and?
Well, Matt or Ben, do you have any questions? Maybe about
it? Out there for you. So obviously, I saw her in her first season at Chelsea in 2017, and obviously I saw her and she was put out wide at fullback. And I know obviously you mentioned you see her at centre half. Obviously with the Turners kind of set now and Abby as well, and obviously Maria coming in as potentially like a fourth centre back. Do you see Casey maybe doing what she's done with Ona and playing her out of position and at right back simply because she's pretty solid, or do you think she'd slot in alongside maybe Millie?
I think it's definitely a possibility that she will be played at right back and then put Ona at left back. Not really what I would do, but obviously an option. She has played quite a lot there for Chelsea when she has played. I think that's usually where she plays when she's played there. So he can definitely do a good job at right back too, but I see her obviously as a centre back.
John Foy's got a question on screen. I don't know if you know that much detail, Christian, but
yeah, I do.
left or right?
Primarily right-footed, but I think she's pretty good with both feet, but right-footed.
Do you think that she could come straight in the starting 11? Obviously, when she gets like match fit and match ready, or do you think she has been brought in as a squad player?
I think Casey has brought her in just to get more depth and then bring more competition for places. I think eventually she can get into the starting 11, but it obviously depends on how well Amy Turner is performing, which has been very, very good lately. You kind of look at Millie as kind of our first choice, and then it's now 3 players competing for that second spot, just alongside Millie. So, I think she can definitely challenge for that spot eventually.
I mean, we've all said it, haven't we? That I've said it. I'm sure you guys have said it at some point that we do need that 4th centre back, and we do need another squad player. Yes, Harry Ladd we mentioned could drop in there in an emergency, and even maybe promote one of the devs because that's one of their opportunities. As 4th choice. It's not very often that we need a 4th choice centre back. I don't think we've ever needed a 4th choice centre back, to be honest. But it is interesting what Christian said about potentially playing right back as well. So maybe now we've got a bit of competition with Kirsty and Ona on the fullbacks as well. Ben, what's your impression of this January signing? Are you surprised by it, or do you think it's a good signing? Has it took you by surprise at all?
I'll have to admit, I don't have a Scooby-Doo about her. I don't know her. As I don't watch Chelsea, I don't know her. But I think it'd be an astute signing if it gets over the line. I like to wait for official confirmation because I'm just boring and said like that. But I think we need strength and depth in the centre half department because it only takes 1 or 2 injuries and then we've got a crisis at the back. I think we touched on it maybe in the last video, the video before. You know, we don't want to end up having a bit of a crisis at the back and then trying to pull players out of position to try and cover too much. So we bring someone else in. I think it's pretty astute. I think it'll be a decent signing. What I do want to know from Christian is what type of player is she? Is she an aggressive player? Is she a ball playing centre half? Is she aggressive? Does she like to get into a tackle? Is she more of a calm defender where she'll put a foot on the ball and bring other players in, or is she one that likes to go out on a marauding little run? That's pretty basically the question I have because I've never seen her play.
Yeah, I can answer that. If you look at Abby and Amy, which are the 2 other center backs we have, I think she's a pretty good combination of both of them. Like you have Abby, who's that ball playing center back, and then you have Amy, who's more like no nonsense defender, kind of old school in a way. I think she's have both those qualities. Like she's good on the ball, and she likes to play like through the lines and find midfielders or forwards. But she can like play herself into trouble with her decision making, and also teammates into trouble. A strong tackler, very good in like close duels, I believe. A little unorthodox, but obviously a strong tackler. I saw a question asking if she was quick. I think she's got decent pace, quicker than both Amy and Abby, in my opinion. Not really the tallest, but her aerial game is good, considering that she isn't too tall. Pretty good at defending her own box. Doesn't really score many goals on set pieces though. Other than that, what else do you want to know, really?
I've got one. Sorry, John.
Go on.
Yeah, apart from like, is she quick? And I'm saying, is she an Amy or a Millie? But I think you sort of got over that. Just where do you see us that being it then for a bit for centre back, or do you see potentially? And I mean, just your opinion, but potentially get her in. You know, she's got WSL experience. I think is really good, and it's needed at this minute. Can you see us potentially getting more defenders in the summer as well as her? I mean, she's 27. She's not young, but she's not old. So it's like at that stage now where you think that that's the one. Then bang. Would you class her as like top quality? You know, just sort of your opinion on those things.
I don't think she's top quality, but she's definitely good. I think she has some clear weaknesses, as I mentioned. I think we should sign a left back because Lotte left, and she can't really fill in there. I don't think so. I think we should sign a left back, and it obviously depends if someone else leaves. If we should bring in another center back, but I think for now, I think Casey just wanted to bring someone in to get more depth.
Yeah.
I think the way I'm looking at it is probably one of 2 things. One, it sounds like that she may offer a bit more than Lotte. Well, because you never put Lotte with a centre back. So she couldn't get much games as a fullback. So I think one way of looking at it is, Maria will bring more than Lotte. But another way of looking at it is, if Maria has been brought in as a centre back for squad depth, then it also shows that she's also happy with Millie and Amy, because I don't think we'll buy another centre back on top of this one. So it also kind of makes you think where we are with Millie and Amy, unless if maybe another centre back will leave in the summer. But for me, I think it tells quite a bit about where Casey is with regards to our starting 11, and maybe just one position in that back 4, which maybe Maria can jump into. I mean, Matt, you haven't said too much just yet on the new signing. I know that you obviously follow WSL as well, like just Man United. What are your thoughts on this signing?
Yeah, I mean, Kristen touched on it before. I'd say she's good in a tackle. Solid, got the experience of the WSL. Will come in and challenge either centre half or full back, depending on where Casey thinks. It's difficult because obviously we talk about the Chelsea game we've referred to. We've talked about this ball over the top and sort of a few people asking, is she quick? I think it depends who we're comparing it to. If we're talking owner, then obviously she's not at that speed. But I think, she'll do for what we need. I think it brings that competition for places. It brings that experience. And I from what I've seen, she's not too bad in the air. I think she's, more than capable of putting herself about in a tackle in the air. And yeah, it's just another option. I think, we've had Abby out for various parts of the season. We've had Kirsty and Martha out as well. So I think, like we touched on before, if you've only got 2 fit centre halves and 1 injured, then it's a good option to have if we need to, one, make a change at the back to compensate for sort of, who we come up against, or, 2 for injuries. And I think it's good that she's versatile and she can kind of cover both sort of positions, really, right back and centre back. But yeah, I think it's just kind of what will we see from her, really. Obviously, we touched on she's not fully fit yet. She's not played for a while. It's going to take time. But I think, once she comes in, she, gets used to playing with everyone. I think, yeah, it's good option there. Good for competition.
I always smile when this person comes on because the
whole show.
Bernard, we've just been discussing a new player that's looking very likely to have signed already, perhaps at Manchester United. So you missed out. You missed out. You're gonna have to rewatch the whole show again. But we've got Christian on the show to talk about this Norwegian player. I am interested to know, does she play as centre back or full back for Norway? Does she play in different positions for internationally as she does when she played for Chelsea?
No, she's first choice centre back alongside Maren Mjelde, who also plays for Chelsea. So that's the centre back pairing for Norway. I think it's worth mentioning that she kind of needs a leader type alongside her, I think, like she does for Norway. Mjelde is Norway's captain, and she's kind of the center back who organizes the back line and structure it and stuff. And I think she needs that because she isn't really a leader type herself, although she does have experience. But she can be kind of a little hot-headed sometimes, going into rash tackles or make a silly tackle or something like that. Just be too aggressive. So I think she needs a kind of a calm presence alongside her.
It's interesting that you said that, because for me, I mean, I know we're sort of saying that, Millie's our first choice, and to be honest, in my opinion, I think Amy's been a lot better than Millie this season. Not saying that, overall, but I'd just say this season, I think it's been Amy Turner's season, really, out of the 2 T's. But you sort of said leader. I do see Millie as a leader, but I don't see her as that. For me, I think Amy's the one who sort of controls it all, bosses it all. I mean, she wears the captain's armband, so she is doing it a lot.
Yeah.
But I do think Mary does it a lot as well. So how will she get on with, say, like a Mary bossing her, say, instead of her own centre back pairing?
I don't think she'd mind. I think she kind of needs someone to kind of instruct her a little bit. So I think Mary being behind her, shouting at her and stuff like that might help her out.
You can never shut a goalkeeper up, by the way. Goalkeepers always shouting and talking. Trust me.
Christian, I do have one more question. It's not necessarily about Maria, but is there anybody else who plays in Norway or for Norway who you'd like to see join Man United, or who would make a good addition at all?
I don't really see anyone, not from the national team or someone who's close to be a part of the national. I don't see anyone leaving for United. Like, we have a centre midfielder who's out of contract, Vilde Børisa. She played for Kopparbergs Göteborg, who played Manchester City in the Champions League. So she's out of contract now, but I don't think she will join us. I don't really think she kind of plays that CDM role, which I think is where in midfield we need to sign someone.
Nice little comment here. Also, just on that one then. So obviously being Norwegian, what are your thoughts on Solskjaer and what's everyone saying of in Norway with how Ollie's doing at the moment?
I think he's done a good job, given the squad and the kind of the position we were in when he came in. I think you can just say that he's took us forward. Like it's progression there. Some of his decisions isn't maybe the greatest, and there's been questions around his kind of tactical abilities and stuff like that. But you can't really complain about him when he's taking us top of the league halfway through. And there's been that steady progression throughout this whole reign, really. Although there's been some consistency issues, and the good periods have just been kind of in shorter periods and not over a full season. But I think he's done a pretty good job so far.
It's interesting when people say that Ollie's inconsistent, but the other 19 teams below him have obviously been more inconsistent, haven't they? Hence why they're below him. Thank you for joining us, Christian. Really do appreciate it. We'll have to get you back on at some point after maybe she's played a game or two, just to let us know your thoughts on how she's playing and compared to when she played with Chelsea and Norway. Natalie, if anyone wants to get in touch with yourself or the Barmy Army or become a member, how can people go about doing that?
Yeah, it's just Barmy Army MUWFC. I'm going to start tweeting out links about membership forms. So, just keep your eyes on my socials, Barmy Army socials, just everyone's sort of socials. But yeah, if you want to become a member of the Barmy Army, definitely hit up us on social media. Just keep growing our supporters club. I mean, unfortunately, we can't be there. It would have been great to have been there on Sunday, regardless of result, just to be in them stands again. And that's what we're all looking forward to, I suppose. And, supporters clubs are working with the club. So hopefully, when it does happen, it's going to come back bigger and better. Definitely.
100%. I can agree with that, definitely. Ben, if somebody wants to find you, where can they find you?
You just Barmy MUFC on Twitter. Twitter's usually the best place. Or my full name, Benjamin Brazil, on Instagram. Hit me up on that as well. They're the two best places.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I've put my Twitter name on screen. More active on Twitter, but I'm on Instagram as well, same name. So, yeah, and just as Nat said, any discussions, any questions about Barmy Army, hit one of us up and we'll point you in the right direction.
Awesome. And Christian, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, I can see your Twitter name on screen. Yep. Is there anywhere else that people can find you?
Well, I think it's mainly Twitter for me, so check out my profile, I guess.
Excellent. And we've tagged everybody in the posts throughout the day as well in tweets, so you can find us all through there. Plan for the rest of the week, so we're live on Thursday, me, Nat, and one or two others from Sin 71, so that'll be exciting. We've had Stuart on before. This is going to be an exciting one as well. We've got another show next Monday night. It won't be Sunday because I think the men's team are playing on Sunday, aren't they? So I think we'll be on Monday. Yeah, another Liverpool game, FA Cup. So we'll be live on Monday, and then we've got shows lined up for the next 3 or 4 weeks. We've got loads of exciting guests. We've got a little spreadsheet on the go, so we've got a lot of stuff going on. Well, thank you again, Christian. Thank you to everybody in the comments. I hope you find that this show was quite educational and informative as well. And we'll see you all again.
Get following because it helps us bring the guests on, the good guests and the good topics. So tell us what you want to hear.
100%.
Share the life out of it.
Share it.
Yeah, definitely. Leave comments after the show as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're after. Tweet us, let us know what you want to see, and we'll do our best to bring it to you, definitely. Right then, have a good week, guys. See you all soon.
See ya.
Yeah, see ya.
Alfie.